Hello, I'm Denise J. Charles, and I want to welcome you to my second session of Read with Me. This is a 7-part series where I have decided to do some readings from my new book. My book is Tonight I Am a Butterfly, Celebrating Seasons of Change. And I actually began with the very first reading sometime last week, I think it was. And I began with the reading, which is actually called Tonight I'm a Butterfly, the reading, which is the signature reading, which has given the entire book its name. Now, this book is divided into 4 segments. There are 61 readings, and we have morning, we have afternoon, we have evening, and we have night. So there are 15 readings in each of those except the last, which has 16 readings, since this is a collection of 61 readings. And I've decided to just share 7 of those readings with you. So this evening I am on to reading 31 because this is the 31st of January and we started this on the 1st. So this reading 31, actually begins the segment called Evening. So we're into the 3rd segment of the book. And those segments were decided upon because I thought of the image of the caterpillar turning to a butterfly. And the book is also called Celebrating Seasons of Change. So we use the image of the times of day to sort of bring that idea home, that it takes time. You know, it takes time for movement to happen. It takes time for authentic change to take place. So this evening, we begin with one called The Cracks. Remember, each reading begins with a quotation which brings home the topic that we're going to be looking at. Once we accept our limits, we go beyond them. Albert Einstein. As a woman who is at that wonderful stage of getting older, I can speak candidly about my relationship with cracks. Generally speaking, I don't like them, especially the ones which can appear almost overnight in my face. Cracks, as we know them, tend to mar perfection. As applied to aging, we have reframed them as laughter lines or as marks of wisdom to somehow try to take the edge off. Whatever we choose to call them, we know that they mean that some things have changed or have become exposed. Cracks in walls tell us that something is wrong with the structure of a building and can become an engineer's nightmare. When found on our faces, especially for us women, we tend to go all out with the best quality moisturizers and miracle creams to attempt to lessen their impact. I used the motif of a crack in a short story I wrote a few years ago. Entitled The Crack, the story chronicles the internal monologue of a young bride as she gets dressed on her wedding day. Not only is she taken by her own beauty as she dresses and gazes in her mirror, but her mirror provides the space for her to recreate the painful images of her abusive past. She is, in fact, caught between a mirror image of bridal perfection and an internal reality of self-doubt and shame. This is brought home more to the reader when, in the story, she recognizes that the old mirror into which she gazes has been marred at the bottom by a ghastly crack. This powerful imagery reminds us that our lives are indeed far from perfect. Even the most successful of us, who appears to have it all together, can still be hiding or camouflaging the glaring cracks in our lives. The truth is that cracks sometimes can be imperceptible. They may not always be as obvious as the one in my story referenced here. Yet, if we examine how we navigate our lives, there are strong indicators that we are perhaps struggling with hiding some of the obvious setbacks or disappointments we may have experienced. Which is the point about a crack. We sometimes don't always recognize that it is there, or even if we do know, we may choose to ignore it. What points to the existence of cracks in our lives? Unexplained anger, pervasive sadness, deep bitterness, recurring depression, disconnection from loved ones, being a workaholic, and even overt exuberance. These can all indicate unresolved issues we may need to confront. The young bride in my story had to confront the fact that her innocence was once brutally taken, even as she was preparing to commit sexually and emotionally to the man of her dreams. This was the major crack confronting her on a wedding day when all external indicators may have suggested an idyllic life and a happy bride. Our personal cracks could be representative of almost anything, from parental abandonment to a lost opportunity to a disappointing relationship or an unfulfilled dream. The point is that when we ignore these dents in our life's journey, when we fail to acknowledge the pain which they cause, we are left to face the emotional upheaval which these issues can leave behind. There is absolutely nothing wrong with acknowledging imperfection or failure in life. The admission that something has hurt or affected us is entirely necessary for our healing and future progress. This also means admitting responsibility where applicable and forgiving ourselves. The man who at midlife fails to come to terms with the failed expectations or broken dreams of his youth can find himself a very angry or dissatisfied man as he enters his senior years. The woman who may have sacrificed by staying at home to raise her children may by midlife feel as if life has somehow passed her by. Experiencing guilt as a consequence of refusing to express her feelings can cause her further internal turmoil. By acknowledgement, I am not suggesting an attitude of throwing in the towel or of crying over spilt milk. Acknowledging disappointment and accepting failure in most instances simply means being honest with ourselves through reflection and the processing of our worrying thoughts. Sometimes this may mean literally recording them in a journal or talking them over with a qualified counseling professional or a mature friend. This is a critical step toward our ability to pick ourselves up, grab our figurative pen, and rewrite our story. Admitting that there are cracks need not signal the end. It can, in fact, signal the beginning of a whole new building process or life experience. We need, therefore, to seize the opportunity for growth or movement when our cracks become exposed. This allows us to do what is needed to repair the damage which those cracks may have caused. Now, this is for me, a very powerful reading because for each of these readings, I could see my life in them at some point, and I guess that is what made writing authentic to me. And as any writer, not only is my writing bringing illumination to my own life, but it is putting me in a place where I can share my thoughts and my reflections and, my aha moments with all of you who have chosen to either buy my book or you're going to access the knowledge via these videos. Of course, I want you to buy my book. You can reach out to me and find out how you can get this book. We are on lockdown. We are about to go into a lockdown on Wednesday here in Barbados. But of course, you can reach out to me and I will still get it to you after that time. But it is important that we take this time to really pause as a nation, and we take this time to pause as individuals. And what good way to pause than to reflect, than to look inwards. And this book and this particular reading called The Cracks, as I hinted at, it is actually linked to a story I wrote several years ago, which I had entered for NIFCA here in Barbados and won a silver medal for it. But this idea of having a crack, it speaks of something that is imperceptible, something that cannot be readily seen, it's not easily exposed, or even if we do see it, we haven't gone deep enough or we haven't repaired it. And each of us, experience this. Each of us have this thing of cracks. We all go through periods of time in our lives when we're either disappointed, we've been betrayed by a friend or a close family member, some dream that we had hasn't come true as yet, and we may feel very down and out because of it. Even now, in terms of what's happening with COVID-19 in Barbados, and only last year we just had a few deaths, we just had a few people having contracted it. Now things are much worse today, and there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of tension, and things are far from perfect. And that is what cracks point to the fact that our lives are far from perfect. Our nation is far from perfect. Neither are our leaders. Nobody is perfect. The only body that is perfect is God. And that is why we have to pray for each other. That's why we have to support each other. That's why we have to get honest with each other and get honest with our individual lives, get honest with our national life. Who are we as Barbadians? Who are we as a nation? Only this evening I passed somewhere and saw so many young people congregating, no masks, very close to each other, and I thought, what are we doing? Why aren't we taking this seriously? And I know there are many of you who are. There are many of you who are doing the right thing. Kudos to you. Kudos to our government for doing so much to put the right things in place. But nobody is perfect, and no system is perfect. Similarly, we can relate this to our individual lives outside of this COVID-19 pandemic and all that is happening. Our lives are far from perfect. There are cracks. There are imperceptible dents, fractures, things that have happened to us, things that are happening to us right now. Cracks, it does not only speak of the past. It does not only speak about hidden things in the past. It also speaks about things that are happening right now, things that are decimating us right now. Perhaps you've lost your job. Perhaps you're self-employed and you're not making the kind of income that you're accustomed to. Perhaps you have a broken relationship. Perhaps being on lockdown is dangerous for you because your home is not a safe space. It is not safe for you physically. It's not safe for you emotionally. And if that is the case, especially if something physical is involved, I pray you would reach out to someone for assistance. There are many things that are happening to many of us right now. The money isn't stretching. Our children may be wayward, or we are concerned about their health. They may not be around us. We may have family overseas where it's much worse. There are so many things. I really want to bring this home to you in a real way, in a way that we can all relate to. This is not just about my book. This is about life. And my prayer is that as you read with me, as you spend time to reflect with me, that you would look into your life. You would see those areas where you need to experience healing, where you need to experience growth, where you need to forgive people, and where you need to let people go, where you need to let circumstances and situations that have perhaps hurt you go. Sometimes you need to walk away from a bad relationship. Sometimes you need to change your job. Sometimes you need to get out of a toxic environment. There's so many other things that we can relate to this idea of cracks and needing to experience healing and needing to move on and go to the next stage, the next level, and experience growth. And I really want you to continue to spend some time reading with me. Remember, my book is Tonight I'm a Butterfly. I pray that these short notes, thoughts on the cracks, this particular reading, if you do have my book, it is reading 31. I pray that you would be blessed by what I've shared. You would spend some time ruminating over this particular reading. And if you want to find out how you can get my book, you can reach out to me, 239-7514. I'm on WhatsApp. You can email me at denisejcharles@gmail.com. Yes, this is not a live video, but you can leave your comments. If there's anything, if you read the book already or you've connected with what I've shared, it makes sense to you, you have your own cracks, your own experiences that you want to share with us, please drop the comments below. I do go back and check, and I will respond to what you've said. We can keep the conversation going even after you've finished viewing the video. You can contribute, and I'll be back with another reading very, very soon. So thanks so much for joining me for this reading of Inspirational Reading 31 in my book, Tonight I Am a Butterfly. I'm Denise J. Charles. Blessings, and see you soon.